Hey, what's up, everybody? And happy Thanksgiving to those who are in the US. And today is going to be a little bit different because instead of the normal wave structure type of video, I'm going to look at a couple different indicators. So I'm not really a big indicator guy. I like the RSI, I like the bull market support band, and my favorite is the TD sequential, right? So for example, TD sequential basically gives me an idea of when the trend becomes exhausted, right? So right here you have a 9 sell. It's letting you know, hey, you might want to chill out for a little bit. And sure enough, we did, right? It doesn't mean we're going to go to zero. It doesn't mean we're going to reverse. It could mean that, but most of the time it's either a pullback or just a regular, reversal. So I use 9 in conjunction with Elliott waves, right? And basically, if I had a 9 like right here, I know it's not the best spot because we're only in the beginning of a wave 1, right? So if it's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, if it's at the top of the 5th wave and I'm on a 9 and I have divergence, that's a good take profit or a short position there, right? So that's what I like. If you want that indicator, it's called TD sequential, but you have to type in trend reversal predictor. So it's right here if you want it. All right. So you can play around with it. It's better to use it. I mean, it depends what time frame you're using. It works great on all time frames. It just depends on certain things. But play around with it and see if you like it. But here we go. So the first thing I'm going to look at is the bull market support band, and you can see I really haven't even talked about it that much, but you can see we've clearly broken the bull market support band, and we actually even tested it. So for example, the bull market support band is responsible for supporting the price, and you can see it right here, right, how we're underneath. And when we're underneath, it's called the bear market resistance band, right? You can see, let me try to, by the way, look at that weekly 9. It perfectly called the top. Look at that weekly 9 there. It perfectly called that. I think that was the 4th wave. But you can see, for example, like this 9 didn't really work, right? It didn't really call the top. But if you knew Elliott wave, you can say, well, that makes sense. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. It actually called the 4th wave. And then here you go 5. It didn't call the 5th, but it called the top of the 3rd, which is also, pretty important. So if we look here, we can see that when we started the bear market, right? First of all, the bull market, you're holding the bull market support band, right? You come back, you test it. You come, you test it. And then you kind of just go parabolic. You don't test it for a while. If you don't test it for too long, you get over, extended, and then you collapse. So you can see right here, we fell below it, testing it as resistance, testing it as resistance, and then now it's the bear market resistance bands testing it, right? So then when you get up to it, take a short, right? So you can make money in bear markets simply by using that method. Now, when you get closer to the bottom, you're going to start to see it actually poking above, and it's going to trick people. Oh, it's done, it's finished, we're back. No, we don't have any structure, right? So you can see how it kind of came back, it failed, and then it came up, it tested it again, came back, and then it created this base here. That's what you want, right? So if it creates a base and it breaks above and it goes above the previous high and then it comes down and it holds it, it's going to set up for a good a good move, and that's what we got. So we could see right here, we built our base, right? We had a 1 2 1 2, right? You can even see we fell, we were holding it for a while, but then ultimately, too many tests, we fell back below, we came up, almost tested it as resistance, came back down. But the point is, when you create a base underneath a falling bull market support band, and then you sort of coil up here, and then bam, you break out with a vengeance. Now it's pretty clear, right? You can see we have officially, we came up, we tested it. Now we're pointing up. So that's the important thing. This is angled in an upward position. So eventually, this thing, not saying now or even soon, but eventually will come and retest it. So, yeah, it's going to be very a useful tool as we go into this retracement, this bull cycle. So, another indicator is, it's called, I learned this from a guy. He's a legend. He wrote the book Hyperwave, and his name is Tyler Jenks, and he used to do collaborations on Bitcoin stock market with on the Tone Vase channel back in 2017, 2018, 2019. And man, this guy was a genius, and he was really smart. He was an old school trader, but he used Hyperwave and he used Consensio. If you want to type that in Google, I'm sure you can find out more about it. But basically, you take the weekly chart, right? You look at the weekly chart, you put on the weekly moving averages, right? And Consensio means, by the way, this guy passed away, and I was mad because I'm like, no, I lost, somebody who's really good at sort of helping us navigate these markets. Um, but it was his time, I guess. So, but he was a great person. You could still go watch his videos. Just type in Tone Vase and Tyler Jenks, or just type in Tyler Jenks Hyperwave. I mean, I'm still there. I'm sure they're still out there on YouTube. But okay, so Consensio is when you have all the moving averages angled up. So I think a better example, real quick, would be Bitcoin here. Okay, this is a perfect example of Consensio. So, um, yeah, we can see the price making a low, right? You can see the moving averages falling down, right? And by the way, I'm not a big moving average guy. I hardly ever use them, unless we're looking at the macro sort of, you know, the overall cycle. And in this case, we are. Um, I should use them more, but their moving averages are more of a lagging indicator. I like more leading indicators, but they work very well. So we can see when the price makes a low and then it finally gets up here and sort of at 1 2 3 4 5, right? A, B, C. And we create this base. You can see what happens. The moving averages get real tight in here, right? And that's going to make sense when we go look at theta in just a second. And then once we start expanding here, you can see on the weekly chart, right? And this, I should have actually looked at this during this correction here, because that would have told me a lot, and I didn't look at it. Which is what? Which is Consensio, which is all the moving averages are pointing up, pointing up, pointing up. The long term the medium term, the short term, they are all pointing up. All right? They don't have to be pointed up massively as long as they're tilted in the right direction. You can see each of them pointing up. All right? That is Consensio. That is bullish. That is the trend. The trend is your friend. That is you want to be long, okay? So when we were in this correction, there was a lot of doubt out there, including with me. I had doubt too. I thought maybe, we could go into reaccumulation. But I told you guys over and over, that's not my first choice. My first choice is that we break out into a fifth wave. I said it over and over and over and over. I said there is a chance we could come down into reaccumulation, but I said it was much less likely. But if I would have looked at this Consensio, I would have totally said there's no way we're going down to reaccumulation. Why? Because despite going down and down and down for a long time, I mean, that was since April all the way to really October, where there was sort of some doubt there, with a lot of people, right? But if you notice, all of the moving averages, so for example, the 20 was actually pointing down for a little bit. And I think this is the 50 was still pointing it up. The 100 is pointing up. The 200 is pointing up. The 20 was kind of getting a little bit squeezed in there. But overall, they were, for the most part, pointed up. And what you can see here, like if we came up and we got rejected, we came back down, this red would have started crossing down into the orange, right? That's how you know, okay, something's wrong, right? It's not in Consensio anymore. So if you look over here, the moving averages were still starting to get going. So it's a much difficult to gauge because, they barely just turned around. So you have the 20 is the first to cross above the 200, crossed above the 100, or it crossed above the 50. It came up to the 100, and then it sort of dwindled down. But then, it's a little bit challenging on that second wave here. So 1, 2, 3. The second wave is difficult. So anyway, that's Consensio, and that'll help you as an investor long term for any market, right? Especially the stock market. So I think it's very useful. So now let's go back to some altcoins. Let's go to we started with Theta, so we'll start with Theta. If I can find it real quick. There we go. So look at Theta, guys. Look, and here's another thing. Let me go back to Bitcoin real quick and let me explain one more thing. Actually, I want to go to the Bitstamp chart because it has more history. All right. Let's see. Actually, you know what? Actually, I can just use this as an example. So, yeah, this is a perfect example. Look at this. So we had our bear market, right? And then we came up, right? We had our little base, we came up, and then we got real tight in here. Look at the moving averages. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the price off. There you go. Now we're talking. Look at that. So this is really, looking at, because a chart is your patient and you're the doctor and you got to examine your patient and you got to sometimes, take their clothes off and look a little bit closer. And we can see very clearly that this is tight. Anytime you get something real tight in here, right, that's how you know things are getting compressed. Just like an air compressor, things are getting very, compressed, right? So that's pressure. That builds a lot of pressure. And as you consolidate, boom, that pressure gets released. And you can see the moving averages just flying out of there, right? So that's what you look for accumulation. All right, so if we look at the theta chart, right here, you can see just how unbelievably compressed it is. It's actually more compressed than Bitcoin has ever been in its life. Okay, let me say that again. There's never been any type of compression like this ever in Bitcoin's life. This is extremely tight. I mean, look at that. Those moving averages are tight, right? So again, it's the same thing. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to put both of them side by side here. And let me take this off. There we go. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to put them side by side there. All right. And if you hear a vacuum in the back, that's because there is one. So apologies for that. But here we go. So we have obviously our bear market, right? And then we violently reversed. And then what happens here is Bitcoin is getting very compressed, just like we talked about, right? And then what happens is we explode out of there. So you can totally tell that's exactly, guys, that's exactly what's happened to Theta here. We had our first pivot, right? And then now we're getting super compressed, just like back over here. So what do you think's going to happen? I mean, anything can happen, right? Anything can happen. But logically, based off evidence, based off probabilities, this thing's getting so tight that it looks like we're going to get something wild, just like we got with Bitcoin, right? So would I rather be in Bitcoin or would I rather be in altcoins? Like, I don't know. Like this Benjamin, I mean, he was right when it came to Bitcoin dominance. I respect that. And I agreed with him. But now he's just getting to a point where it's getting ridiculous. Like he used to talk about altcoins like Ethereum or like ADA. And he doesn't even acknowledge they exist. Like, I think his problem is that, and I love the guy. I think he's great. I mean, I have nothing against him, but I think his issue is that he pushes too hard to convince certain people, and he's always battling himself. And it's kind of like, dude, just if people don't believe you, just move on. It's not a big deal, right? He's trying to like prove them wrong, but then it doesn't matter. You can show someone that, a turkey is a turkey, and you can tell them all day long, but they'll tell you it's a chicken, right? Just move on. It's not a big deal. But I think he's being totally overwhelmed with people, and a lot of it is in the comment section, and I've been fortunate enough to not have so much pushback on certain things. Hopefully, right? Knock on wood, it won't happen, but that's just the way it is. But I am starting to disagree with them now because if you look at ADA, it went up 200%. He didn't even acknowledge that. He's still harping on ETH versus Bitcoin. I just don't get it. I just don't understand. But I don't know. To each his own. It is what it is. I still watch his videos. I'm still subscribed. I still like him. I still think he's a genius. He's very smart. He's got all his data metrics. He's top of the line. But he's just so obsessed with proving that he was right and everybody else was wrong. And it's just like, dude, get over yourself. Anyways, I call him the Sheldon Cooper of crypto because he is. Anyways, let's go back to here. And by the way, if you like these style videos where I talk about things like this, because I don't normally talk about it, let me know in the comment section that, hey, yeah, we want to see more of these style videos where we look closely at the indicators, right? All right, so there you go. That's basically Consensio, and that's exactly what we're looking at. So let's put the price on real quick, right? You could see this at a more, compressed price, but this sort of had similar, um, first of all, this went up way more than Bitcoin did, right? This went up a lot. So you're going to have a bigger pullback. But essentially, we had the same sort of accumulation, right? We're breaking out. So we're right about here, I would imagine. Or since we didn't even break the top, we're probably somewhere like right in here. All right. So now that we can see the price full on, look at this, man. This is really bullish. Look how tight those moving averages are. I mean, they're just so tight. Now let's do this. Now we'll take the price off one more time. And now watch this. Okay, now let's look at this here. Okay, so as we examine it, we can see the 20 is pointing up. We see the 50 is pointing up. Okay, and let me look. We can zoom in here. And if I zoom in close enough, you can see the 200 is pointing up, which is important, which is probably the most important, right, for the longer term moving average. You can see that angle right there and that angle right there. We have the 100 pointing up. We have the 200 pointing up. So now what is coming? A bullish crossover, right? Or they call it a golden cross or whatever. I'm not all on, I don't really follow that kind of stuff. I mean, it's great, but it's important, but it's just kind of one of those things where it doesn't really mean you should buy at that specific time. Like you should have bought way before that, but it's a good thing that, we're moving along. So we want to see the 20 start to cross above the 200, and then we want to see the 50 start to cross above the 200, and then also we want to see both of them cross, and then also, we want them basically like in unison, right? 200, 100, 50, and 20. All right, and 20 is kind of like the bull market support band in a way. If I put that right up here, if I have it real quick, there it is. So the bull market support band is way down here at the 20. And that's really what it is. It's a mixture of a moving average, 20 and 21. Now, you can use SMAs or you can use EMAs. I like to use, I don't know. I like to use EMAs sometimes. It just depends. But that's what we got here. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is look at the Lucid SAR. And you can apply this to all of these charts I'm not going to do them all. I'm going to do XRP. I will do XRP after I do Theta, but you can see here's another indicator that I like to use is the Lucid SAR. And basically what we see here is, let me turn the price on real quick. You could see the price came up and it flipped that star. And now the star's down here. And now the stars are moving up. I just call them stars. And we had a 3-wave move and we held it as support, right? And now we're starting to move up. You can see that star right there is gapping above these, right? So that tells you this thing's got some legs, right? So when we look at this, and that's why I don't use indicators, because it's just so cluttered. I like my charts clean. Some of these guys on YouTube, they have so many different lines and so many different things on their chart. It's like, what am I looking at here? Even because most people who watch probably, they're not, they're trying to get information, right? So, keeping it simple is, I think, a little bit better. So I try to do 1 or 2 indicators at a time. But yeah, that's basically it here. I mean, we could look at, you got the Ichimoku cloud, you got the ribbon. Um, I do need some more indicators. I'm just not really a big indicator individual, but I do like the Bollinger Bands here. Now you can see compression, right? Let's look over here first. Look how compressed it was back in the day. That's what you want. Compression is accumulation, okay? And then once you can see the red going up, you can see the green going down. It's like an alligator opening its mouth. You know what I mean? The mouth is getting wide, right? And it's basically swallowing the price. You could just think about it like that. So we can see the same thing happening here. Look at that. We came down. It was very compressed. This is a big gap. That's a big gap. But look right here between here, and I should have did a better job paying attention to this beforehand, right? But you can see, sometimes you just get too involved with the wave structure, but um, you can see right here, it got very tight. And it was so tight that that's when we started to expand. And now you can see it's widening out here. So that's exactly what we want. All right. And then I don't use the stock RSI. I'm just not really trained on that. I mean, I know it's good. I know it's useful, but I like regular RSI. I just never got a real good feel of the stock RSI. I'm still kind of trying to think about how I can use it, but here's the thing. The RSI is best used. The RSI, the regular, is best used. The stock RSI is useful on the higher time frames. On the lower time frames, look at this. I'll just go to the 1 hour chart, right? And then you zoom out. It's not really helpful. I mean, it goes up and down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Yeah, it's telling people things. Maybe I'm just dumb and I don't know how to really read it really good. But I just find it more useful if you look at it on the weekly. So the weekly chart, oh, that's not the weekly chart. Actually, let's go to the monthly chart now, because that one is also important. Okay, and look at this. You can see on the Bollinger Bands, we had some compression here, right? And that's when it started to expand. But let me get rid of that. Okay, now the moving averages on the monthly, notice we only have two, right? Because those other two longer moving averages aren't even. Theta is such a new asset that it only has two moving averages on the monthly. That's how fresh it is, right? It's still a baby. That's why I tell people just be patient, because it's still just a baby chart. So let's look at this here. So the RSI, I'm going to actually shrink that. And so the stock RSI, you can see we've been oversold for so long down in here. And it could stay down there for a long time. And it did. It stayed down there for basically almost 3 years, right? And then we came up, we popped the high, we came back down, sort of made a little bit of a higher low, and now we're starting to curl back around. So the best thing this could do is sort of do something like this and then kind of stay up there for a little bit and then come down, right? Kind of like it did over here. So, but that's pretty much it for Theta. All right, let's look at the wave structure real quick. It's not really much has changed. Not much has changed. I mean, we're holding, you can see the moving averages, we're holding nicely on the 20. So, yesterday I said either this is an A or 3 down and then 1, 2, 3 up, and then you get 3 back down, and then go. So boom, 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 it's a flat. Or this is 3, it's finished. This is a 1, 2. This is a 1, 2. This is a 1, 2. And now we're about to, just kind of start to break out here. Now, someone said a rising wedge. Yeah, it could be a rising wedge. In which case we've broken below it, and now we came up, and now we're testing it as resistance. So this thing could come back down. In which case, it would be the first count: 3 up or 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. Boom. So it'd be some kind of flat before we go up. But it's Thanksgiving. I don't know how relative it is. I mean, it's kind of like a weekend for most people. I mean, a lot of people are talking with their families, telling people, hey, download Coinbase or whatever, but it is what it is. So maybe they're by the way, they need to list Theta on Coinbase. I mean, come on. They list freaking dog crap over there, and they don't list Theta. It just doesn't make sense. I don't get it. Hopefully they do soon. But yeah, that's pretty much it. What I would say is, on the small time frame, nothing's really changed from yesterday. But what I would say is the retracement levels here, right? What happens here? Can we escape this? You got point A, point B, point C. You're sort of right in the middle here. So let's see if we had some wave structure. If this thing kind of gives us a little bit of a move like that, I'm going to believe we can break out. But if we had a move like this and we get rejected here, maybe we need a 3-way move like that, then go, right? So we'll just have to wait and see. But so far, it looks great. All right, let's go to XRP. We'll do the same thing we did with XRP. But I'm going to start with the wave structure first, because right off the bat, look at this. I see it flagging out here. So I have a 3-wave move to the downside. I guess you could say that's 5, but it looks more like 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. I don't really like it a lot. But if it was an impulse and now we're flagging out, I would like to see it obviously break higher. That's just kind of the way it looks to me right now. We push up and then we sort of consolidate down. So, but it does still look pretty bullish. So let's see. Let's go to the 10-second chart. I just can't read that. Let's go to the 5-minute chart. I mean, yeah, it's not really helpful. We're kind of buttoned up in here, so if we can start pushing up, then we can get something like this. We have 3, right? Maybe we get 3, and then we get another 3, and then go. I mean, there's a lot of different ways it can happen. So we're just going to have to wait and see. When you're in the retracement levels, it's just a lot of sideways chop. But if I had to tell you, it looks like it wants to come up here. And then once it does, then you kind of have to reevaluate. But let's look at the zoomed out. Let's go to the weekly chart. Okay, here's our weekly chart. Our beautiful weekly chart. And let's take all that off because we don't need that anymore. And then let's put on our moving averages. Wow, look at that. And now let's come over here and look at that compression. I mean, it's been compressed. That's another thing too. XRP has been compressed a long time. That's why I've been saying, man, for months. I mean, someone said, hey, I saw your video from 8 months ago, and I'm saying the same thing I am now. It's the same thing. This is this is bullish, right? And basically what I was saying was, for all my videos going back for the last year, and even before that, but I can't prove that because I wasn't doing videos. But essentially, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up, right? And then we have an A. This is a 3-wave B, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a C. So we have 1, A, B, C, 2. And then we pumped up, and then we flagged out 1, 2. And I said all throughout here, get ready, get ready, get ready, any day, and then boom. So anyway, hopefully people got it. Hopefully, I still think we're very early. I think, this thing's still got a lot more to go. You're just not going to get the percentages you would have gotten down here. So, okay, Tyler Jang's Consensio. Look at the Consensio here. Let me take this. Let me hide that. There you go. So you can see very clearly that is Consensio, right? And that's what I've been trying to emphasize on today's video, is the importance of Consensio. And basically what it means is, when you have all the moving averages pointing up, the market is in consensus with the bullish thesis, which is up. Now, that can be the same with reverse in a bear market. If all the moving averages are pointing down, you want to be on the short side. If all the moving averages are pointing up, you want to be on the long side. And that's just simple, right? Very, very common sense. But I think the way, I try to present it in a way where it's, simplified but powerful. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it looks fantastic. And here's the thing. Remember where Theta's at, right? Or where Bitcoin was, how it fell down, right? It had that first pivot, it came up, it went sideways, it got extremely compressed, and then bam, you break out. That's exactly what I got. Theta right here. That's exactly what Theta hasn't done it yet, right? Which is why maybe, honestly, I took some profit on my XRP and I rotated it into Theta simply for this reason. Because look at it, it still hasn't shined. Now, when you look at ADA, let's look at ADA for a minute. You can see, oh, this is the futures chart, so it's not going to give me the best reading, but we got compressed. You kind of expanding a little bit here. Ave, same thing here with Ave. You came up, you got compressed, and then bam. But Theta hasn't had that yet, which still means there's a lot more explosiveness on the horizon. Now, if you look at flow, there is no consensus yet, right? Even though you sort of have everything's pointing down, and we don't, the 200 is pointing down, the 100 is pointing down, so that's what I mean. Not all of them are equal. So that's why you got to kind of go through them and see, it doesn't mean flow's not going to do well. It just means it's, it doesn't have the same confidence as the other ones do, at least from an investor perspective. You can see fetch looks great. We're getting compressed in here, and yeah, it looks great. Let me look at that a little bit more here. Wow, I didn't know that. Whoa. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Dang. Well, I guess I missed that one, huh? Beautiful. That was a beautiful breakout. We're right back. It's still, look at this. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? And then you got an ABC. And then you got a 1, 2. And then I think you got another 1-2 here. And now let's freaking go. I think it looks great. But that's another day. Let's go back to XRP here. I don't want to get too distracted. XRP on the 4-hour looks great. See, that's Consensio there. But it's primarily used on the weekly and the daily and the monthly. The daily's got it, the weekly's got it, right? Let's see, the monthly. I'm sure the monthly's not quite there yet, but it could be. See, the monthly, we don't even have the 200. I mean, XRP's still a baby, you know? We don't even have the 200 monthly moving average. I mean, you know what I mean? So, they are all pointing up on a monthly scale. That's as good as you can get it. All right, so let's go back to the weekly and let me show you this. Again, if you like these style videos, let me know and I'll do more of them on different charts and update them with these charts as well. So if we look here, you can see, man, this was just explosive. You can see how obviously things were going down. It was Consensio bearish, right? Then it started to pump up, right? The 20 got a little bit more volatile. And then all of a sudden, right on a dime, like usually it gives you time to sort of react, but this is just instantaneous, like a cannon, you know, explosive, boom. And then instantly, like you're just pointing straight up. And then once we got into this correction over here, you can see we were holding the 20 in here. And this is going to be important for our upcoming bull cycle. Are we going to be able to hold the 20, right? You can see the 20 is still angled up, angled up, angled up, angled up, right? Which gave consensus that it was still to the long side. And then we had this blow off top here, and we immediately came below that 50. We came up here, we couldn't hold the 20 anymore, and right there was lights out. We came down, we actually held the 200, and you can see what happened in here, right? And basically all in here was the thick of it. So, but here's the thing. When you look at this chart, where was the best time to buy? Obviously, it was right here. Okay, but did you know that? Right? How did you know that when all the, you know, it's not safe to buy, right? Because all the moving averages are, you know, pointing down. So who in their right mind as an investor would buy that? And that's kind of where I separate myself a little bit, because I was a buyer, not with XRP. I did buy Bitcoin in this dump. I remember coming home from work, pulling into the garage, opening up my phone, and Bitcoin was like at $3,900. And then I closed my phone, I went upstairs, I took a shower, I came back, I looked at it, it was at $4,200. So I got, oh wow, and I just started buying like crazy right around there. But I did so because it was extreme fear. Anytime you have extreme fear, and you can see where the price is relative to the 20, that's a good buy. So look at the difference. Look how far away this was from the 20 weekly. It was 90% away. That's a big thing. And we were 125, 130% away from the 50. And we were 150 to 160% away from the 100 and 200. Right? So anytime you're so far away from, I mean, in a bear market, that's dollar cost averaging, right? That's what that is. But yeah, Consensio is full-fledged with XRP. You can see over here where things started to flip bullish right in here. But notice how kind of like choppy it looks. It kind of looks like a correction, you know? Very corrective. This looks completely different than what happened over here. Completely different. Because we kind of went up and then we kind of went down, right? And then we just exploded. I mean, that's beautiful. This is kind of like chop, 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 chop. You know, this is just seamless, I think is a good word. Seamless, you know? So, similar to over here. All right. So, all right, we got that. We got that out of the way. Now, let's look at, see, the RSI is I just don't know how to read that. So, I don't really use it much. Obviously, I know how to, I can see bullish divergence, bearish divergence on here. You can see, yeah, I'm just not a fan, honestly. I know people love it, but I just don't. So we can see some volume now and the Lucid SAR. So the Lucid SAR looks great. We pumped above on the weekly. Let me check the monthly now because I haven't checked it in a while. This is the big boy right here. Did we? Oh my Lord. We did it. We did it. We broke it. Look at that. We have our first. Man, I need to do this more often because we got our first Lucid SAR there. That's a big deal on the monthly chart. So we finally flipped it, right? We finally flipped it. You know, we flipped it. The last time we flipped it was back in Judge Torres when we ruled it was not a security, but it was a fake flip. It was a fake flip because it wasn't sustained. It was never supposed to flip, right? So you can see the stars below it, and then right there, bam, we took it out. Making people, oh no, you know, we flipped it because we were back, you know, below the star. But good thing I didn't look at it because I would have, you know, to me, I'm more like looking at the wave structure, and sure enough, we flipped back above it. So great. Now you can see there's no volume. There's really no volume on the monthly, but I don't really like volume either because it's not really an accurate representation of volume. Um, you know, it's not really, you kind of have to look at it through all the exchanges. Um, so for example, like if you have a big green candle here, or let me see, like sometimes the colors don't even matter sometimes, right? Like I remember watching a video on volume one time, and he was explaining in a educated way where volume is sort of, there's a lot of deception in volume. I don't really know much about it. I mean, I know volume. I know volumes usually signals the end of a move. A lot of people think, oh, we want volume, you know, because that will tell us the breakout. A lot of times, no, you don't want volume, right? The more volume you get in an uptrend, the more likely it is to reverse. So it's kind of the opposite. Like, you know, like back, you know, if you look back over here, if you look right here, we have a volume spike, right? But look where it happened. It happened at the end. And then that's when the bear market started. Back over here, when we were flying to the upside, we barely had no volume. So that's good. We don't want volume, right? Volume tells you when the move is finished, not when the move begins. That's the big deception with volume. And that's why I don't really use it all that much, unless I'm looking at it from a macro perspective. Let's see, XRP is consolidating, blah, 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 blah. I can get rid of that. Now I can see the volume here. We got a little bit of a volume push. But you can see we had more volume over here when XRP wasn't doing anything than we do now, which is good. We don't want a lot of volume. So I hope it kind of does this, does this, does this. And then it keeps pumping, right? And then bam, then we get volume. And then that's when the move's over. So it kind of lets you know that. So anyway, that's XRP. All right, let's look at the MACD. I forgot to look at it on Theta. Volume, let me take that off. And let me take that off. There we go. So the MACD is amazing. I mean, it's everything you wanted it to be. You know, let's go up to the 2-week chart. That'll be even, it looks great. All right, let's look at the monthly. I don't know if the monthly, yeah, the monthly looks great too. So we finally crossed above the 0 on the monthly. We actually did that back in June. I haven't looked at it in a while. So yeah, let's keep moving it. So you can actually see a trend line here. So once we hit this trend line, that's when things are going to get a little bit dicey, right? So can we break it? You know, when we get up here, you know, let's say we're only at $4. You know, it's going to be a tough one because you got to respect the MACD trend line, right? Unless we can break out of it. I don't know. I think we will. I think we will break out of it. The reason why is because this MACD was a lot lower because it was only a retracement. So we need to get back up here, right? So we have to break it. If we don't break it, it's not gonna be that good. So, but yeah, it looks great. All right, let's look at Theta. Oh, Theta still has a lot. Okay, it's the monthly chart. It still has a lot. You know, it still has a lot to go. But that's a good thing because that means there's more percentages left to bank. You know what I mean? So I expect this to get a lot bigger. Let's look at the weekly. Let's go to the 2-week here. Oh yeah, the 2-week looks great. You can say, how's it great? We don't have anything green. Well, yeah. The reason why is because it looks like we're about to cross. We want that to cross, and we want that to cross, and then we want them both angled up. So yeah, we got some work to do, but it's getting there. Let's look at the weekly. Oh, the weekly looks fantastic. Looks fantastic. We got the cross. I'm waiting for this guy to cross above the 0. We already got this to cross above the 0. So we get the bigger histograms. Yeah, so we got plenty of upside to go. So there we go. Like now you guys kind of have to, you know, see on some other charts, like for example, Litecoin, we're not really there yet, right? We're getting there, but we're not there yet. Like here's a good example of a chart that's not quite there. You could see the 20 crossing above the 50. Let's see, are they all angled up? They are all angled up, right? But they don't really have any legs to it. But it's getting there. So the cool thing about Litecoin, you know, we're in this massive accumulation structure. Litecoin will break out. If we have an alt season, it will break out. I'm pretty positive. The reason why is because look at this ABC correction. We have a beautiful 3-way move. So you have a 1, you have a 2. This thing can really rip soon. So just be aware of that. I'm not holding it right now. I kind of traded it a little bit. I got in, I got out. I'm still kind of picking my spots here. So, but I will own this once we um, break through it. And then also, like sometimes some of these charts I'm not going to get to, but if we start moving our way back up here and we kind of correct and we're kind of doing something less, I wouldn't mind even buying it here because I know, it should be pretty well. It should do very well. So we have this beautiful W shape and it's very big. So we'll see. So so the next video, I'll do the request. I know there's some things people want me to look at, like Bohm targets, and I'll do targets another video, and just more looking at the wave structure. But all in all, everything's pretty much similar, right? For example, you look at DOT, you got a three-way pullback, and now we're starting to move our way back up. If this does something like this, you can kind of see something, you get something bigger. So we just have to wait and see what happens in here, not only with DOT, but maybe other coins as well. Jupiter looks pretty good right now. It looks a lot better than it did. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, you got an impulse. You're flagging out. Looks great. It looks like it's primed. I mean, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I mean, that's a lot. That's a nest, like a hornet's nest. That's a nest of 1, 2, 1, 2s, and that could be very deadly to the upside. So, just kind of scouting here before I wrap it up. Render, sort of bottlenecking in here. Expect it to break out soon. We looked at Theta. I guess we can look at Theta Fuel. Yeah, same thing with ADA. You got 3 down. This could be 3. I expect it to come up. I expect it to come up here. And then from there, we have to see, do we get 3 down and then go, or does this turn into more of an impulse? So I think that's going to be your pivot right there. We'll see. XDC looks weird. Looks very tight in here. There's a big move brewing. There's a big move brewing here. Something's going to happen soon. Maybe even tomorrow. Black Friday is tomorrow, so are we going to get a Black Friday deal, or are we going to get... I don't go Black Friday shopping. I think it's crazy. I'd rather just shop online. I don't know about you guys. So, what are you guys doing for Thanksgiving? I like to cook the turkey. And the way I do it is cooking it upside down. You go, what? Yeah, that's what I like to do. I like to take the turkey and I like to cook it upside down. Does anybody know why? Because the juices, turkey, the biggest thing to get right on a turkey is to make it moist, because so many turkeys come out dry, and the best way to keep it moist is simply cooking it upside down, because the breast, all the thick meat is on the top, but gravity extracts it down, and then you have all the drippings on the pan. So you got to continually baste it, right? But then also by cooking it upside down, the juices fall into the breast meat and it absorbs in there. So just a little bit of a trick. Maybe you guys can try that out. But I think it comes out 10 times better. TIA. So TIA is also kind of bottlenecking in here. We're either going to get a flat and then go, or this thing's going to pop. We have to see how that plays. But anyway, I think that'll do it for this video. I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Happy Thanksgiving and cheers.